Frogs especially, they have small pores on their skin through which the exchange of gases can take place. This is the only amphibian that is there which is called as limbless amphibia because they do not have limbs, that is the forelimb nor the hind limb, so they are limbless. Parasites are those organisms which live on other living hosts and derive nutrition from those living hosts, right? Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the session on class 11th biology for CBSE. I'm Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidhyaashram School of Excellence, Mysuru. So in this lesson, let us learn about class amphibians under chapter 4 of animal kingdom. So class amphibians come under subphylum vertebrata. So let's learn the characteristics of class amphibians and then move into learning about some of the MCQs under this particular topic. So class amphibia. So this name means dwell life, wherein amphi means dwell and bios meaning life. So here these organisms, they have two lives wherein one half they spend in the water and the remaining on land. That is, during the time of mating and to lay eggs for reproduction, they move to the water, otherwise they spend their time on the land. So that is why they are called as amphibians, meaning dwell life. They live in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitats. And these animals are also cold-blooded animals wherein they are not capable of regulating the body temperature, and their body temperature tends to vary according to their external temperature. And they have two pairs of limbs, that is a pair of forelimb and a pair of hind limb. And it is the hind limb that they use for hopping. They have a head, the body is divided into head and trunk, and in some the body is divided into head, trunk and tail. For example, salamanders under amphibians, they have a tail. Frog do not have a tail, they have only, the body is divided only into a head and a trunk, whereas in the case of salamander, it is divided into head, trunk and tail. And as I told you, tail is present in some, and the skin is without any scales. They lack scales, but the skin is moist, and this moist skin sometimes help these organisms to respire as well. And they have eyes which have eyelids. So it is from these organisms, that is from the class amphibia, the organisms will have an eyelid. And they do not have exactly a ear like how we have with pinnacle and all that, but they have tympanum, which is an external opening that represents their ear. So if you can see here, they have a small external opening that is there in this region, which is called as tympanum, that actually helps them to hear. And you can see their body is somewhat slimy and it is gelatinous. That is why, because they have moist skin. Moist skin. And they have two forelimbs, that is a pair of forelimb and a pair of hind limb, and their feet are webbed so that they can wade in the water properly. So next, talking about their alimentary canal. So they have a chamber which is called as cloaca. So it is into this cloaca that the alimentary canal, the urinary and the reproductive tracts open into one common chamber called cloaca, and that cloaca opens to the exterior through which the excretory product or the waste product comes out. So if you can see here, talking about the alimentary canal has esophagus and the liver, then the stomach, the gallbladder, all that comes under the alimentary canal. So the intestine. So if you can see these alimentary canal, all of these are interconnected to one another, and they open into one common chamber, that is the cloaca. So this portion is the cloaca. So it opens into the cloaca, and if we can see the urinary tract, that is the ureter, the urinary bladder, that is the reproductive tract is ureter. Talking about the urinary bladder and the kidney, both opens into cloaca only, if you can see here. So this urinary bladder also opens into cloaca. The kidney also opens into the cloaca. It both opens into the cloaca. And then talking about the ureter, that is the tube that connects the kidney with that of the cloaca. So it connects the kidney, opens into the cloaca through the ureter. So they have this reproductive tract. So that reproductive tract also opens into the cloaca only, and that cloaca opens to the outside, wherein it will have a cloacal aperture, and through that the waste products come out. So therefore all the different organ systems in them, that is the elementary organs of the elementary system or the digestive system, organs of the urinary system and organs of the reproductive system, all that come together and they meet and open into one chamber, that is the cloaca. And they respire. These organisms have organs that help them to respire. They can respire by gills, lungs and through skin. Now they have gills as well as lungs because they have a dual life, right, wherein they spend life both in the water as well as on land. So when they are on land, they use their lungs for respiration, and when they are in the water, they use gills for respiration. And also frogs especially, they have small pores on their skin through which the exchange of gases can take place. And the heart is three-chambered, wherein it has two auricles and one ventricle. So it is three-chambered. Next, talking about the reproduction, here they are dioecious, wherein the sexes are separate and fertilization is external. That is, they lay the egg and then the sperm meets the egg outside the body of the organism in the water, and then the egg hatches after fertilization. So therefore fertilization is external. They are usually egg laying, therefore they are oviparous, and development is indirect. Why? Because they have an intermediate stage. For example, this is tadpole. Frogs, they have an intermediate stage wherein they'll form a tadpole which doesn't look like an adult, and then the tadpole becomes an adult frog. So therefore the development is indirect here. And as I told you, they lay the eggs in the water and then the fertilization of the egg takes place. Therefore the fertilization is external in this particular case. Next, talking about some of the examples, there is buffo, which is a larger frog which is also called as toad. So this is buffo. Then we have rana, which is the common frog that we find everywhere during the rainy season, rana, and hyla, which is tree frog. This is hyla, and this is salamandra. So salamandra almost looks like a lizard only, but they have put it under class amphibia because they show most of the characteristics like amphibians. So that is the reason. That is, they also live in water as well as on land. So that is one of the reason. Next, there is one more, that is ichthyophis. So ichthyophis is a limbless amphibians. All the other examples that if you can see here, they have limbs. But this is the only amphibian that is there which is called as limbless amphibia because they do not have limbs. That is the forelimb nor the hind limb. So they are limbless. So it looks exactly like a snake or an earthworm, but it's not that. So this is ichthyophis, which is a limbless amphibian. So these are some of the examples. So let's move into learning about some of the MCQs. The organisms that live in water as well as land are called parasites. Now, what are parasites? Parasites are those organisms which live on other living hosts and derive nutrition from those living hosts, right? So this answer is wrong. Saprophytes. Now, saprophytes are those organisms which depend on the dead and decaying organic matter. So therefore, this is also wrong. Amphibians. Amphibians are those organisms which are capable of living on land as well as water. Therefore, they have a dual life. So amphibians is the right answer. So is it mesophytes? No, it's not mesophytes. Mesophytes is the wrong answer. The right answer here is amphibians. Next question. In amphibians, they have dash that represents ear. Is it cloaca, operculum, trunk and tympanum? Cloaca is the opening. That is, it is a chamber into which all the other organs of the amphibians come and meet. So that chamber is called as cloaca. Operculum, no, operculum is not the right answer because operculum is the covering that is present on the gill slit. It has nothing to do with the ear. Is it trunk? No, trunk. The body of the frog is called as trunk, or body of the amphibian is called as trunk. Is it tympanum? Yes, tympanum is the external opening that represents a ear in the amphibians. Next, respiration in frogs is by gills, lungs, skin, all of the above. Yes, or they can ask respiration in amphibians is by. So gills, yes, I told you, because amphibians, they live in water as well as on land. So when they are in water, they need gills for respiration. When they are on land, they need lungs for respiration. And when they are on the land, especially frogs, they also use this moist skin which have pores for respiration. Therefore, all the above is the right option here. Next, the heart of amphibians have. See here, I have not given how many chambers here. In all the previous sessions, while asking a question about heart, I had asked the heart is of dash chambered. The heart is dash chambered. But now I changed it. So you must be able to understand that in the other sessions also, where I have framed a question related to the chambers of the heart, this way the question can be framed as well in other topics also. So the heart of amphibians have one auricle, one ventricle, two auricles, one ventricle. One auricle, one ventricle is found in chondric thighs and ostic thighs because they have a two-chambered heart. Okay, so option A is not correct. Two auricles, one ventricle. Yes, two auricles and one ventricle is correct because amphibians have a three-chambered heart wherein they have two auricles and one ventricle. Now again, I've put a confusion here. One auricle, two ventricle. One auricle, two ventricle. 1 plus 2 again will be 3. Always remember, either it will be one auricle, one ventricle, two auricles, one ventricle, or two auricles, two ventricle. Never ever the ventricle will be more than that of the auricle. So just remember that. So therefore here this option is not correct because it should be two auricles, one ventricle. What I have given here, one auricle, two ventricle. So it is a tricky MCQ. So have that in mind. Next is two auricle, two ventricle. No, two auricle, two ventricle are usually found in the case of aves and in mammals because they have a four-chambered heart. So therefore, option D is also not correct. The right option is option B, two auricles, one ventricle. Next question. The common chamber in frogs to which alimentary canal, urinary tract and reproductive tract open is called as operculum. No, operculum is the covering that is present on the gill slits which is seen in ostic thighs. So therefore that is not the right option. Notochord, no, notochords are of course present in vertebrates. That has nothing to do with the question. Next is cloaca. Cloaca is the right answer because that chamber is called as cloaca into which all these reproductive tract, the urinary tract and the digestive system or the alimentary canal enters into. Nephridia, no, nephridia are the kidneys that are present in the case of earthworm. They are the excretory units of earthworm or excretory units of phylum Annelida. So this is also not the right option. The right option is option C, cloaca. Which of the characteristic feature is seen in amphibians? What have I asked here? Which of the characteristic feature? I have not asked for which one of the following is not a characteristic feature. So here in this question, we are supposed to find out which is the characteristic feature of amphibians. They are cold-blooded, they are homeothermous, they have air bladder, they have scales. They are cold-blooded, yes, or I can put it instead of cold-blooded, I can make the option as poikilothermus because poikilothermus is also called as cold-blooded. Is it homeothermus? No, because homeothermus means warm-blooded. They have air bladder? No, because these usually don't swim. They wade in the water with the help of their webbed feet. And of course, they drown if they do not wade. But they don't have, that has nothing to do with the air bladder. Air bladder is found, they have air bladder is found in the case of ostic thighs. And they have scales. They do not have scales. It is the chondric thighs and the ostic thighs that have scales. These do not have scales. The right answer here is cold-blooded or poikilothermus is the characteristic feature that is seen in amphibians. Next, rana is commonly called as toad. No, toad is commonly called, toad is buffo. Tree frog is hyla. Frog is rana. Salamander is salamandra. So this way also the questions can be asked, like buffo is commonly called as or hyla is commonly called as. So salamandra, that will not be asked because salamander, it's easy. So usually the question can be changed with this way. Here, Rana is commonly called as, it is the common frog that we see every day. So option C is the right answer here. So this was about the session wherein we learnt about the class amphibians under subphylum vertebrata under phylum chordates. So we also learned some of the MCQs which can be framed in exam point of view. So this was about the session. I hope you understood the session well. We shall meet again in the coming session where we'll study one more class under subphylum vertebrata and discuss the MCQs under it. So meet you in the coming session. Thank you.